Hello, my name is Sabreen, and today I'm going to talk to you about my journey through science. So it was about a year ago when I started working on an idea for my science fair project, and I was having a discussion with my family about why some people in our family love to read. And my mom had speculated that this love of books was inherited, but I said that actually dopamine, a neurotransmitter, is released in your brain when you do certain activities, and the amount released is different from person to person. But this is not inherited. So later on, I decided to research more about dopamine and found out that it also corrects abnormal blood vessel growth. So I had previously read an article about how one of the problems that oncologists are having with tumors is that medicines cannot be delivered to the tumors because the blood vessels that surround the tumors are constricted and abnormal. So, in a moment of inspiration, I connected these ideas to form the hypothesis for my first science fair project, that injections of dopamine will cause tumors to diminish. I chose zebrafish as my model organism. Around October, however, the zebrafish still were not displaying clear symptoms of cancer, although they were being exposed to UV light for varying periods of time. So I decided to change the direction of my project and look at a different aspect of cancer in zebrafish. I had noticed that when I tried to induce cancer in the zebrafish, they developed swellings on their underbelly. I had thought this was a sign of melanoma. It wasn't, but I was still interested in the topic and wanted to research more about it. I also knew that the method I was using to induce cancer, UV light, could not penetrate certain depths of water. So I hypothesized that the zebrafish would have better survival rates if their pigmentation was darker, which meant that they had more melanin, and if they were farther away from the ultraviolet light source, basically deeper in the water. So in this more feasible project, I focused on how the pigmentation and the distance from ultraviolet light affected the survivability rates of zebrafish. So come January 4th, I was all ready for my school presentation. And a few weeks later, I found out that I had won at my school and was selected to move on to the district. So I was ecstatic because I had started working on this project relatively late into the year and was still working on my experimentation when my classmates were writing their research notebooks. So the evening of when I gave my presentation, I found out that I had won first place in the IUSD District Science Fair and was moving on to county. So I celebrated with a pizza party, delighted that I had made it so far. I practiced whenever I could between the breaks of my schedule. So a few weeks later, my family and I visited Sequoia National Park for the first time. I came back 4 days later, refreshed and ready to tell my friends. I opened up my Gmail account and found, to my extreme disappointment and shock, that my project had been disqualified from the Orange County Science Fair. So it turned out that my project had violated a rule that I had not known of. No live vertebrate animals could die in any experiment, and in my experiment, the zebrafish had died. So I asked a member of the OCSEF board if I could submit a substitute project in replacement of the disqualified one. While the board was making its decision, I wasted no time in starting from scratch and creating an entire new project. So in the few moments that I had to rest, I realized that most of my spring break was now gone, but I was willing to give that up if I could keep my hard-earned spot in the Orange County Science Fair. So my third, and you'll be relieved to know final, idea for the science fair project began at Google. I had won a trip to Google in a separate competition, and in Google I met an engineer who told me about the Google Make Better generator. The Google Make Better generator provided different articles, videos, etc. for a certain point of interest that the user wanted to make better. And don't take out your phones now, but the Google Make Better generator is open to the public. I'm sure if you search it up on Google, you'll find it. So using this, I came across some different articles on the inhibition of cancer via angiogenesis. Angiogenesis, or the production of blood vessels, is what causes tumors to grow because they're being fed by the nutrition and energy traveling to them through those vessels. So digging even further using the Google Make Better generator caused me to come across the names of different angiogenesis inhibitors. I chose quercetin to learn about first, and found out that it was not only was it an angiogenesis inhibitor, it was also found in certain natural foods. While reading even further, I found that camphorol and myristin were also most commonly found in certain natural foods. So it was at that time when I came up with my third and final science fair project, the effectiveness of natural foods versus cancer drugs in stopping the growth of a cancerous tumor. So as cancerous drugs are detrimental to your health, and in recent studies have been shown to even speed the growth of a tumor, I found that natural foods are just as effective as these drugs were supposed to be, but they're even safer, obviously, in stopping the growth of a cancerous tumor. So finally, after days and days of hard work on this project, I finished it, complete with a bound research notebook and a trifold board. So my appeal for entering a substitute project in the OCSEF was granted, thankfully, and my family, my friends, and my teachers were proud of me and gave me a lot of moral support. I was able to enter the Orange County Science Fair and was surprised and gratified to win second place and move on to state. So what did I learn in my journey to the science fair this past year? 1, never stop learning. Knowledge is always useful, whether it is today or tomorrow. There will always be a purpose for the knowledge you gain. 2nd, always persevere and never give up. There is no telling what you can do if you just continue on the path you have set for yourself. Thomas Edison once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." So believe me, I perspired quite a bit during my experience, and although I may not be a genius, I've certainly learned a lot about cancer, about research, about the scientific method, about angiogenesis. And of course, we can't forget about reading all the rules and guidelines carefully before I enter a science fair project to make sure that it's not disqualified. So these are things that I will carry with me as I go forward onto hopefully bigger and better achievements. So in conclusion, don't see failure as a roadblock, a red light, a stop sign. Instead, look at failure as a new chance to learn, a new discovery that you have made. So many major scientific breakthroughs have been made when creative minds, just like yours, simply decided to look at failure a different way, and that has made all the difference. Thank you.